Perfect.
Well, Dave, that's been a minute.
I know. Yeah. I forgot when
when
you brought it up that it has been a while since we did one.
I think we've got 2 COVID years plus a year that we haven't done these two dudes talking,
Mm-hmm.
maker versus creator.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, like, what's been going on since then in your life that has us talking about maker versus creator 2.0?
Right. So what prompted this was me. I think I called you either from Nebraska or right after I got home from Nebraska. I was in Nebraska because you were helping me with my proposal for this client. And
I was wondering, what were you doing in Nebraska? And
right.
I hear everyone was wondering.
Everyone.
Your partner, your girlfriend, the company went to visit.
The company I was doing the intensive for. Yeah.
Everyone's like, what are you doing? What were you doing? What were you thinking?
It was so great. So I went to the Ultimate Experience in Arizona.
Okay.
I have to give me a second here. My Bluetooth is going to pick up my AirPods. So I go to Arizona for this experience, and then I got it in my head that this client that I'd done a 6-month, it was my largest paying client at the time. And I'd flown out there for 3 days to Nebraska and done some on-site. It's this industrial manufacturing client. And because it was my biggest one, I assumed in my head, I just had it that I was supposed to go out there again and do like a final wrap-up intensive and proposal and such. And so booked it all.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And I was feeling so much guilt leading up to it because I meant to go the beginning of the year and then life didn't work out and I couldn't. And so I'm really trying to fit this travel in, and I booked my trip and I get to Nebraska and I think your question was, how did I get there? That's what happened. I thought I had an intensive, and that I flew in on a Monday, and I think it was Thursday night when I was talking to my girlfriend Kelly and telling her this funny story about how the CEO kept acting surprised that I was there. And I said, he's so funny. He keeps saying, I'm so surprised to see you. And Kelly stopped and she said, that's because you're not supposed to be there. And I said, what do you mean? And she says, you didn't include a second intensive with this client. They only had one. You're not supposed to be in Nebraska. Go look at your contract. And I went back and I looked at the original proposal, and sure enough, I wasn't supposed to be there. I had flown myself there for free. I mean, just out of my own pocket, paid for all my travel, given them 4 days of 10 to 16 hours of just coaching from morning till night. And then I even, thinking I'm being like so generous, I throw in a 4th day for free because my flight was later in the evening. And I said, let's use this time productively. And it wasn't, they hadn't paid for any of it and were legitimately surprised when I showed up and started emailing them, letting them know I was going to be flying in the next day. So
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is that making or creating that you just did?
It was like, I feel like it was accidental creation. It's
I'll take that as creating.
Yeah. But in a way,
can I share what I hear?
In a way, it was like, it was just creation because I really wanted to renew with this client. And after 6 months and the level of work we had done and where I wanted to go with them, I really felt like this renewal conversation at least had to happen in person. And I was really grateful that I had this second intensive. So I didn't know, like on the back end, didn't know why I had the wrong reasons why I was going. Those were not accurate, but it was amazing creation when I was there. Like what happened when I was there could not have happened had I not shown up.
One of the beautiful parts of this creation is there must have been some moment you realized you're doing this on your own dime. Like there must have been a reason, like an occasion.
Yeah.
And what you did with that creation is, instead of making it a problem,
right,
you created immense possibility through service, and some amazing things happened.
Yeah. When I showed up, and that's where the creation really, I got called into it. You're right, I didn't know in the beginning I was there in my own dime. But I walked into the office Tuesday morning, and the operations manager, who I'm really close with and I've been working with, she looked at me when I walked in and it looked like she was going to cry. And I asked her, I said, what's wrong? And she says, I don't know how to tell you this, especially since you just flew here. And long story short, they'd uncovered an accounting error that took them from thinking they'd had a really profitable year to being $500,000 in the red for the year. And upon seeing this number, the first thing the CEO said to her was, well, we're not hiring Dave again. Like, that's off the table. So I walk in Tuesday morning to this kind of this shitstorm that's been brewing since Monday. They had just uncovered it on Monday. And Corey says, I don't know how we can't rehire you. And I told her, I said, that's no problem. And she says, it is a problem. We need you. You've done, like, they had an amazing, best year they've had in the history of the business since working with me. And that was awesome. And she said, we need you. And I said, no, everyone's going to be fine. It's not a big deal. And she really was feeling a lot of emotion. And I said, give me my time here. And by the end of this, we'll figure something out. And Thursday night, I figured out I was there for free. I think it was Thursday night, you and I spoke, and I had started to formulate an idea. And I didn't know on Tuesday what it was going to be or how the renewal was going to work, but I knew if they wanted to renew with me and I wanted to renew with them, and I wanted to make a much larger program than the last time, if I was willing, there was a way to take all these pieces that looked bad and turn them into something really cool. And that's what we ended up doing. I came back on Friday morning and pitched a proposal that'll probably, if things go how they've started to go, this will be a 6-figure client for the year. And it'll be my largest client I've ever signed.
You're telling me through some idea you had, that was not what was, but it became what was, you went. And the first thing you do, you're not even realizing that it was an error, that you're supposed to be there, but someone's bawling that some stuff happened and we can't hire you. And you had the fortitude to be with this person, serving her, letting her be whatever, and saying, don't worry about it. We got time here. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah. And Gary, it's something you helped me with, and we've talked about it a bunch, but it was letting go of my attachment to an outcome. I wasn't there to create anything except something beneficial for this business. And that was the outcome I wanted to create. So if I could, them not having money didn't change what I was trying to do when I was there. It didn't matter that there wasn't any funding. Didn't matter that they weren't going to hire me again. I was already there. That was why I was there. I was going to do that, and then trust that if I just show up and serve and have an intention that we're going to find a way to keep working together, it will present itself. And it did. And it was amazing. I'm going to end up, and the CEO is so funny, as I was pitching this, he goes, wait a minute, Dave, if with this new program, you'd actually end up making quite a bit more money than on your original proposal. And I said, I know. And what I had done was I had dropped my guaranteed pay significantly down, but then tied myself into the commission structure of the entire company. So if I help them hit their financial goals, I get to ride along with that and make a lot more than I would have. And this is where that's me, in my mind, serving them. You don't have the money right now, I'll drop my fee. Serving myself, I know who I'm working with and I know what I'm capable of as a coach. These guys are going to soar once we start working on our systems and processes for their business. So I'll end up way ahead of where I was, and it wouldn't have been possible if they weren't so far in the red. Like, none of it would have happened.
And it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't been there to be with them, being you, helping them.
Right.
This is really something that's so powerful. And in my work with my coach, we have this thing, it ain't nothing till I call it.
Yeah. You said that.
It ain't nothing till I call it. The moment I call something, whatever I call it, chemistry shoots throughout my body. And you didn't call it anything other than what it was.
Yeah.
I came here, and I'm not paid to be here, but I'm here. It ain't a problem. Let me get to the business of being me, doing what I do,
Yes.
helping you do what you do. And then a whole bunch of things occurred. That's creating.
Yeah.
Making is so fixated on some kind of outcome, some kind of things, needing all of the stars to align to have something happen. And what we're talking about in this 2.0 is pure creation from loving what is.
Yeah.
From, I call it creation from surrender, acceptance, and allowance. And people don't get that.
Right.
I spent an hour and a half talking to 5 beautiful people about this. They wanted to know what that means. And I said, to me, all it means is whatever's happening is happening. So what?
Yes.
Now what? Right?
Yes.
What am I going to do with
that.
this? How am I going to be with this? So how I liken it is you had 100% material to work with.
Yeah.
You didn't need to manipulate or cajole anything into position. You're like, this is what's occurred. I'm not wrong for coming here. I don't need a problem to solve. Let's just get to the hand. And you don't have the money? Well, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Giving space to everything, working with what is, you created some miracles. Tell me, there's some other interesting things that occurred. You let me know when you came back, like two or three biggies that are just even more juicier. Because some people had they had a reaction.
They did not. And this was really interesting. So one of my commitments on this trip from our coaching was, and my commitment for this year, what I'm working towards is just absolute unadulterated authenticity at all times, and really watching that process and feeling into what that feels like to be as authentic as I'm capable of in any given moment. And could I be more? And so I'm going to meet with this, Midwest industrial, and I'm dressed like I am now. Like, I didn't worry about how I looked. I didn't worry about how I presented. I didn't even worry. This is bad, Gary. I didn't worry about putting an agenda together. I told the operations manager, here are the people I think would be good to meet with when I come down. Will they be available? And she said, I think so. I said, okay. And then I'm going into it. This is the least prepared, the least professional I've ever gone into something like this. And the day before I fly out, I get a text from her saying, I've basically taken the liberty of writing you up an agenda for the next 3 days. And it was perfect. She planned my dinners. She told me when I was going to have lunch. I didn't have to think about a thing. I got to show up, and she had my meetings all lined up with all the key players. She did all of it simply because I was lazy and didn't get around to doing it. And so then I met with people, and I was more more honest than I've really ever been. And there was one individual particularly that was moving into a new sales role, and I wasn't sure if he was a good fit for it. This guy talked a big game, but hadn't really produced the previous year. And I was kind of nervous if he could hold this new position. And I said to him, I have 2 thoughts here. One is, you're really good at bullshitting. And he would say that all the time to me, Dave, I'm such a good bullshitter. So you're really good at bullshitting. My guess is you've either used that skill to fly under the radar for your entire career and move into middle management positions where no one's really looking at you or watching what you're doing. And that skill has allowed you to progress to where you are now. Or you're very skilled in sales and you're going to crush it in this new outside sales role. And I don't know which one it is, but if it's the first one, we can just quietly talk about that now. And I'm happy to help you find a different job because this one's not going to work. And he said, no, I'm committed. I'm a producer. This is what I do. He said, great. Then why don't you take the next couple of days and we'll talk again next week, would have been this week. And I want you to put together what metrics you'd like me to track as your sales coach to make sure that you're actually achieving what you need to achieve. And I don't want to dictate that to you. You know what's important. You're a good salesperson. You put it together, bring it to me. Well, it was like 2 hours after I left their office on Friday, he quit. And then not even with 2 weeks, just quit and then out. And so now I think I know what my answer was to which one it was. So we lost an individual we were depending on to bring in. We were hoping $1 million in sales was his goal for the year. So right after I left, that happened. I could not be more excited, Gary. Again, the creation. That's 60,000 in salary, 30,000 in commission that I now get to roll into new software for the company that's going to replace what this man was doing and make it even more efficient. So instead of crying over it, we just take everything that keeps happening. We're going to achieve our goals faster because he quit than we would have if he hadn't. And that's how it's going to go all year long. No matter what happens, we're just going to use it. So that was a fun one. Their inventory person also quit. Great. More money for software again.
What did you do to him?
For that one, that wasn't me. That was actually fantastic. That was a message from the CEO. I've been working really hard with the leadership of this company around communication, and the communication was hitting a boiling point, and she quit because of that, which again is the catalyst that I now can use. It's kind of like my pry bar to get into this area with this person that I've not been able to coach in before. We've coached around it, but I haven't had like a clear-cut example of how detrimental this form of communication can be to his business. And now that we lost a key player, and that was a factor, it's going to allow me to speak so much more cleanly and concretely with him about it without creating defensiveness, which means we can fix it faster. And I'm so stoked. So really looking, and we're already seeing that change. It's so fun. Amazing.
From your best guess, what would have happened if you hadn't gone on this trip?
Well, you and I would be coaching around how to replace this client.
Yeah.
Or I'd be in a very long, months-long process of trying to show value remotely to the point where I could justify some kind of renewal fee. And then I would have tried really hard to get them to do what they needed to do to create the money so I could justify another. It would have been it would have been so much more work on my end, because I wouldn't have had the conversation with their sales rep that made him quit. I wouldn't have had the conversation with the CEO around the messages sent that lost to the other person. I wouldn't have had 3 days of just asking really curious questions about, where did all that money go? What do you think that means for us? Like really kind of helping everyone see the money from a more of a logical perspective than a catastrophic emotional panic button perspective. None of that could I have done remotely.
So essentially, you went down by being Dave.
Yeah.
And people it ain't nothing till you call it. So some people will say, oh my God, Dave said some stuff, but he went down and wasted a bunch of money and just did this. Mm-hmm. And he's lazy, not doing stuff. And people might have judgment around that, and that's on them.
Yes.
Our work together is you get paid for being you.
Yes.
And the more that you love you being you, and it's not to say that you're going to always do this, but stuff happens. We're human beings, and you take it now, and instead of making something of it, making it a problem, right, you create yourself with it.
Right.
And you transform a company, you transform the people within the company. You know what to do, you know what to say, you know how to say it, you know how to do it. This is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think 3 or 4 years ago when we did those things, we had an idea that making and creating would lead to this type of stuff. But this has been our experience in that time, actually living it, not just blah, blah, blahing it,
right,
but living into it.
And it's so scary to live into. I still get so scared and so nervous. And like, I think we called it one time, the term that came up yesterday with the client was the speed wobbles. Like, as I start going into this just being and not trying to make somebody think something of me, not trying to impress or move or manipulate, not trying to create a specific outcome. Even when I've agreed to the outcome, I don't try that hard to create the outcome. I just look at what's in the way of it and then help people move obstacles out of the way. Like, but it's so much less control than I'm used to having. And when we came into this call, you asked me what I wanted to talk about. I have a whole list of things. I keep telling people, when they make the movie of my life, this last 2 months are going to be the majority of that movie, because all this work on creation and intention and just setting things in motion and letting the universe do the rest for me as long as I stay clean and clear on my end. And it all has started coming back my way in like faster than I can handle it. It's been incredible. And it just keeps coming.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So for this segment, we'll just talk about this and then we'll do some other regarding some of the other stuff because
Yeah.
this is huge and I want people to digest this. The one thing is, why don't we just let people know? Because some people have seen this. I don't know how, but people say,
Right.
I've seen you.
Right.
I didn't know it was you. I've seen that painting.
Yeah.
What's happened in your life? And I'll share quickly what's happened in my life in the last 2-3 years.
So 2 years ago on the 14th, I bought this house that I'm in right now with $800. It's like that, and I hate these. It's that same story you'll see on all the, the TED Talks and the motivational speakers. I had $800 in my checking account. I was super frustrated. I was paying my ex all this money, and you and I in a session, I told you I wanted to buy a house, and you said okay. And then 3 months later, I moved in here I was living in the 1-bedroom condo with the kids, my daughter in a closet and stuff. And then I moved into this 5-bedroom house. And now, and so amazing, in August, my girlfriend and I plan to be either married by then or at least have everything set up for it. And we're going to be selling this home and moving to Arizona because I created this house in such a beautiful way. And then Saturday morning, today's Wednesday as we record this, Saturday morning, we woke up and Kelly said, I think I want to move. I said, okay. And then I said to her, but I don't know how we're going to do it. Like, all my money's tied up in this house. I don't qualify for a loan. My credit's awful since my divorce and the cancer. Like, I won't be able to really get us a loan for a house. And she goes, that's okay, we'll figure it out. And then by like 2 hours later, we had come up with a plan based on the market here and the market in the area. We want to live in Arizona, how to sell this home, break the profit up across 2 different properties now, and really set ourselves up financially how we want, as well as have all the lifestyle upgrades we were going for anyway. It took 2 hours from her saying we should do this to having a plan. And my realtor will be over here at 11:30 tomorrow morning to look at the place and give us some comps on what she thinks we can sell it for. And also, Carrie, if I do this the way I want, I'm going to zero out my living expenses. I'll have no mortgage on the nicest house I will have ever lived in. I'll live in a beautiful place with no mortgage and a little bit of extra income from the investment property I'm going to keep here in town, just because that's what I decided I wanted to do. And Kelly sees everything as possible, just like I try to, and together we just solve anything. It's incredible. So yeah, I'll be moving into another upgraded house 2 years after I bought the coolest house I've ever lived in. It's just happening so fast. It's crazy. It's a matter of we don't make rules for ourselves. We decide what we want, and then we use whatever is around us to create it.
What got into you?
I've been having the Melissa Black Ford told this great story a long time ago of Steve Chandler asking her, how good can you stand it? When she had achieved all sorts of amazing things with Steve and wasn't sure if she wanted to keep coaching, because what more was left? She'd achieved all of her goals. I think what got into me, Gary, is I'm 41. I have or had, I don't know, because it's hard, we don't have the technology, a disease that may end my life sooner than I would like my life to be ended. And through our work, this life apprenticeship that kicked it all off, where we're in Japan just creating me, I lost whatever fucks I still had left to give. They flew away and I don't have them anymore. And then when I started seeing just what was possible in terms of creation, when you weren't governing yourself and weren't limiting through stories, then I started playing this game of how far can I take this thing? Okay, I bought a house that I never thought I would be able to own. Can I do that again? Can I do that again with no money, without having to drain a bank account? Can I buy 2 properties just because just seeing? None of it's concrete yet, but what I've learned through our work is me deciding it and me setting the intention is as good as me having cash in the bank. Like that's where we're at. So I'm just seeing how far I can take all of this. So fun. Just for the fun of it. Just because I want to. Yeah.
I gotta say, I loved our time in Japan together. That was just the most insane,
oh my gosh.
just the most insane time. It was such a pleasure to show you my Japan, because I lived there for 2 years when I was in my, like, not knowing what I was going to do when I grow up, you know,
Yeah.
just turning 40, mid 40s, lower 40s. And to just spend that time with you and to have a vague idea of what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then just use all of that time to come together. It was like one of the most fantastic.
Incredible.
It reminds me, it's like when you were going to take the Keikyu line to get into Tokyo, and you would go, and then it stopped, and then you had to go back to Haneda Airport,
Oh
and
my
then
God,
you
that's
give me this
awful.
call, and you're like pissed. You're
I was
pissed, and
so
you're like,
frustrated.
you
Yeah.
were like, what the hell, dude? Like, help me. And I'm like, dude, like, I used to live in Tokyo. I know Keikyu line. That's kind of, I should have told you to take the monorail, you know,
Right.
and bring you to Disneyland. No, it doesn't, but it's a lot easier than that.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting, you know, like in a place, where were we? We were just, I forget the name of the island, but it's an island. And like, don't worry about it. Like, you do what you do, and you do this, and I'll meet you. And I was so chill, and I could get the idea. Like, what do you mean, dude? Chill? Let's, come on.
Yeah.
And
I'm lost in
somehow, like,
Japan.
you're lost in Japan. And then somehow, like, I said, okay, to my brother Ron was there. I said, we got to go find Schwinneman. We're going to go here. So we just stop what we're doing. It's not a problem. Oh yeah, it was Odaiba, beautiful place just
Oh my
outside of
God.
Tokyo. And we're like, yeah, whatever. I was like, no problem. Yeah, sorry, Dave. That's kind of sucky. And you figured it out. And then you got there, and we just did our work. And I had some ideas. We'll do this. We'll do this. We're going to head to Osaka. And you were magnificent in that time. You brought everything,
Yeah.
everything.
Well-
So I think I just want to acknowledge you. It's been, what a ride in that life apprenticeship and our current
Okay.
work that we do now.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's again, it's cliche, Gary, but I don't have a better way of saying it. When at the point I was at in my life when we were in Japan, I could not have, even if you said to me, and you gave me an assignment one day to sit down and basically write out how much money I wanted to make for the year, and then break it down into different programs, and then just put names of anyone I could think of. And if I couldn't think of anyone, make up a name. And just so I could get what I wanted to create a little bit more concrete, less ethereal and more on paper. Even if you'd given me the assignment to sit and write my dream life, like what would I love my life to look like, I wouldn't have known to put down some of the things that I get to do and live now. It is gone. And then part of the homework is the Joe Dispenza meditation, which you introduced me to, looking, kind of imagining, what do I want my life to be? And I live it every day. And I was even thinking about part of it that I thought I had missed. And this is something we haven't spoken of yet. My future vision for 2021 I hit every single thing on it, and it takes up a whole window behind me. Every item on there I have achieved, except the very last one was make $300,000. And I told you, I said I did well, but I didn't hit 300K. Except then I started researching how much is my home worth. And it turns out if you factor in the appreciation of this investment I made well over 300,000 last year. So every single thing I've imagined, every single thing I built into that meditation, even from what I see out my bedroom window when I wake up in the morning, I have all of it. And it happened without me even knowing. It's kind of like, I just like it was sneaking up on me. Like I'd turn around and a piece of it, that's done. I didn't realize I didn't even know I was working on that, you know. And it's not until I stop and actually rewind and we reflect together that I really see just how much has been created. And it's incredible because I couldn't reverse engineer it for you. I couldn't tell you how I got here except to say that I woke up every day committed to creating what I wanted to create, and then just moved as me, and the rest, the universe lined up and gave it to me.
I'd venture to say you were committed to being Dave and really committed to wiping the mirror, so to speak, so you could really see Dave and love Dave.
Yeah.
And then from that, you created within your current circumstance, even $800 in the bank, you created that you have everything you need.
Yes.
I boil it down to 3 questions. So I'm in my 2.0 with Artisan. I've got a whole nother full, range of hours paid up front during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I said, for this 2.0 with Artisan, what I'm going to ask myself is, what do I want? This is big picture. It's not like an iPhone, or what do I want my life experience to be like? Within that, what do I want to create, and how do I want to spend my time? So this is beautiful in terms of creation. If I create what I want currently with what I currently have, I've got 100% material to work with, and then I get to create. So within the circumstances I have, I just see opportunity, nothing but opportunity, possibility. I've got choices, not decisions. Decisions is this, or, I try and make a bad situation better. I forget about that. No, I got choices beyond what I can see, and I'm creating who I am. Then I get to say, how do I want to spend my time?
Yeah.
And what do I want to create?
Yeah.
I think that's cool. Why don't we leave it for that, and we can let whoever sees this, and I think we can talk about some other things and some other conversations around your trip to the Ultimate Coach experience, which was amazing, some amazing stuff. And then your new, I'm going to call it a hobby, but it's not a hobby. If I ask you, what are you, Dave? What are you?
An artist.
You're an artist. There you go.
Sandwich
and
artist.
Not a sandwich artist. Yes. In order to have fun at Subway and get clients.
Exactly. I couldn't make it as a coach. I wasn't happy. So yeah.
Well, you're the handsomest sandwich artist I know.
Thanks, Gary. And this is perfect.
Awesome.
You said it beautifully. And I was really stuck on my future vision for the year. And I brought that to you, that I was stuck on it. And I couldn't decide who I wanted to be this year. And we talked. And my future vision is now, how do I want to spend my time today, and what do I want to create? And that's all I'm using to guide me for the whole year. And I've already, on the 2nd of February, created more this year than I have. I just can't, it boggles the mind what's happened already. So thank you for that, for helping me live that and letting me, that's how I live. So
it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Gary.